I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. This is episode 6, the final episode in our Real Story series on the neuroscience behind betrayal. Today, we will explore the 4 possible paths forward after you discover betrayal. Of course, there's stay and don't change. There's stay and begin the healing process. Then there's trial separation. There's also conscious uncoupling. And of course, there's a 5th option, the elephant in the room, if you will, the unintentional path forward if you don't choose one. Because here's the key. None of the paths forward can be chosen unless you regulate your brain. This is because betrayal doesn't just break trust. It actually dysregulates your nervous system. And DARVO often pulls you into the drama triangle. So every single choice becomes so confusing and the path forward can't be seen, never mind taken. Without regulation and intentional choice, you'll stay stuck in survival and miss out on the empowerment that can come from this situation. When Casey first came into the program, I saw on her brain map exactly what I've seen in so many women's brains, the brain pattern of betrayal trauma. Her high beta, the fast speed of stress and survival, was through the roof. This explains why she couldn't sleep and she was constantly scanning for danger, for that next threat. It's the brain's signature of hypervigilance. Her alpha rhythms were suppressed. Without them being used enough, she couldn't relax or feel safe in her body. Her theta waves were dysregulated. This explains why she couldn't turn off those ruminating thoughts. She would get into a spiral and couldn't shut it off. And her delta waves were dysregulated too. This means that she couldn't get into restorative sleep, which is absolutely essential for figuring the situation out. This is what dysregulation in the brain looks like after betrayal. And until it's regulated, clear choice making will elude you. I want you to know you're not broken. This is your brain's very survival mechanism working for you, but unfortunately, keeping you stuck. This is why brain mapping and neurofeedback are so important in this journey, because you can identify exactly what's going on in your brain and why you're stuck. Then you can use powerful technology to regulate your brain back to calm, to clarity, so that you can move forward. This allows you to regain your strength. Now, if I were to map Tyler's brain, what I would see would be dopamine dependency. I've personally studied this in thousands of men's brains. When the reward center in the brain and the reward pathways that feed forward to the prefrontal cortex are not stable, that person's brain will crave intensity and novelty to both stimulate the brain and to soothe it. What happens is real life begins to feel flat or too stressful, and that person needs to self-soothe and stimulate to feel better. This is where hypersexual behaviors come in. Porn use, messaging other women, acting out in the real world. That chase of dopamine makes the person's brain feel better for a time. This isn't about love. It's barely about sex. What it is about is dopamine to offset stress and perceived boredom. But unless that person regulates their brain, that seeking and searching won't stop. Once Casey regulated her brain, she could clearly see the paths forward, but they are very much dependent on what both partners do in terms of regulating their brain and regulating their behaviors. Let's explore them. Okay, first is stay and pretend. Basically, this is denial or maintaining the status quo. If Casey does this, she will likely stay in a hypervigilant state. Her brain will stay locked in survival. At the same time, Tyler then would be allowed by himself and her to be able to continue to engage in these seeking and searching behaviors. Not much would change. Next is stay and change. This involves the commitment to healing. So for Casey, if she commits to stay, but regulate her brain and be able to choose new behaviors of her mind and body, this will affect how she shows up in her relationship and how Tyler can show up too. It actually ends up transforming almost every aspect of your relationship and your life. But this requires Tyler to show up and do the work too. It takes two to tango. Casey's brain would have an amygdala that could calm down. Both partners can set their own path forward next to each other in strength. But of course, this is the commitment to healing. This is a process, not an event. Third is a trial separation. This is space for clarity. So for Casey, if she decided to take some time apart, it allows her nervous system to come down, the amygdala to chill out, the prefrontal cortex to start thinking logically again. The space allows her to see clearly what she really wants and needs moving forward. Now, the same can happen for Tyler if he regulates his brain. If not, it will likely be that he continues on the hunt for dopamine. But if both people take space for clarity, change can happen powerfully there too. The fourth option is conscious uncoupling, intentional ending. Now, I don't want anybody to end their relationship, but more than that, I don't want people to stay in an unhealthy, fake great relationship. So, intentional ending can be really powerful, especially if the two partners cannot meet each other halfway in the healing process. Scientific studies show that when partners intentionally uncouple, that this is the healthiest way to proceed for the children in the family. So many people are freaked out about getting divorced, and of course, I don't want that. But if you can learn how to intentionally uncouple, that gives your family the opportunity to change what the form looks like, but not the content of love. For Casey, perhaps the only way out of that hypervigilant state is to be able to take permanent space, especially if Tyler's not able to engage in the healing process. If he continues with the dysregulated brain and the hypersexual behaviors, then conscious uncoupling might be the best choice. For Tyler, if he's still in the dopamine dependent state, that will show up not only still in the current relationship, but again in the next one. Now let's talk about the fifth unintentional option if you don't regulate your brain and pick one to move forward with. This is the rock bottom moment that most people are afraid of. What happens is if you don't pick a choice, you stay in the place, not only of denial and status quo, but of escalation of the dysregulated brain patterns at play. This might look like explosive fights. It might look like constant arguing. It might be that the betrayed partner starts talking about it all over town, telling anybody who will listen. It might mean that the one who betrayed now doubles down on DARVO and that Karpman Triangle. Things will get worse. It's your proverbial downward spiral. This one, unfortunately, eventually requires a reset for healing to begin. This is why brain mapping and neurofeedback are so critical. Because yes, the path that you choose going forward is very important, but even more so is making sure that you choose it from a regulated state. Healthy brains see options and they're able to take the steps toward the option that's best for them. Unhealthy brains only see survival. After betrayal, the real question isn't which path will you take? The real question is, will your brain be healthy enough to make that decision from a position of strength instead of survival? That's why brain mapping and neurofeedback are so powerful. They calm the chaos, restore clarity. They help both partners step out of old patterns, hypervigilance for her, novelty seeking for him. I've worked with women like Casey and men like Tyler for a long time, and this is something that I can tell you with certainty. Healing is possible. Whether you rebuild together or apart, you can find calm, clarity, peace, and connection to be able to move forward. Your nervous system can be rewired for strength. Check out the partner tab on drtrishleigh.com if you're ready for support in this journey. This concludes our series. Here we grow again, sister. Stay sane.